Hi, I'm Alex, and today I want to share something that honestly caught me off guard. The sneaky way daily inflammation can creep into our lives, turning simple tasks like tying our shoes or climbing the stairs into painful challenges. If you've ever woken up with puffy ankles, stiff fingers, or an achy knee that wasn't there yesterday, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Left unchecked, that swelling isn't just annoying, it can signal deeper issues like poor circulation, silent inflammation, or even early joint damage. Back when I was living in Austin, I used to pride myself on weekend hikes and morning runs around Lady Bird Lake. But over time, I started noticing subtle changes. My feet felt swollen by mid-afternoon, and the right side of my face even puffed up after a long workday. At first, I ignored it, blamed it on too much salt, a lack of sleep, or just aging. But then, one evening, while trying to wind down with my favorite cold brew on the porch, I realized my wrist was so stiff I couldn't lift my cup without wincing. That was the wake-up call. I decided to dive into the science, and that's when I stumbled upon aloe vera, this humble succulent you've probably seen in your kitchen or garden center. It isn't just for sunburns. It's packed with powerful antioxidants, anti-inflammatory compounds, and sugars that actually inhibit the enzymes that crowd your tissues with excess fluid. The very next morning, I cut open a fresh aloe leaf, scooped the gel into a blender, and mixed it with a splash of lemon juice and a teaspoon of local honey. I sipped that vivid green elixir slowly, listening as every cool drop seemed to whisper, "Here comes relief." Within hours, the tightness in my wrist loosened just enough to grab my mug without a second thought. That small victory lit a fire under me. Over the next week, I made it my ritual. A daily aloe boost before breakfast. I combined it with a short walk around my neighborhood. Nothing brutal, just a gentle stroll to get my blood moving. And you know what? By day 5, the swelling in my ankles had faded, so noticeably, I had to double-check whether my shoes felt too loose. Now, I'm not suggesting that aloe vera is a miracle cure for every kind of inflammation. But here's the truth. It's one of the easiest, least expensive, and safest steps you can take, and it pairs beautifully with small lifestyle tweaks. Think of it like the opening move in a chess game. You need a solid strategy, and aloe vera is a strong first play. So, what should you do next? First, find a grocery store or garden center where you can grab a fresh aloe leaf, ideally organic. If that's not possible, look for a pure aloe juice with minimal additives. Check the label for high aloe vera concentration and no artificial sugars. Next, blend 1 to 2 tablespoons of gel with 8 ounces of water, lemon, or your favorite unsweetened beverage. Drink it slowly, giving your body time to absorb those antioxidants. And here's a pro tip. Combine your aloe ritual with 5 to 10 minutes of light movement walking in the park, gentle yoga poses, or even marching in place while you chat on the phone. This partnership kickstarts circulation and helps your lymphatic system carry away excess fluid. Before I wrap up, I want you to remember this. Inflammation rarely strikes without warning. It's like that friend who shows up unannounced, overstays their welcome, and leaves you cleaning up a mess. But by taking a few conscious steps like embracing aloe vera as your daily sidekick, you can build a defense that feels proactive, empowering, and surprisingly simple. What's the key takeaway? Always listen to your body's signals, act early, and arm yourself with natural solutions that actually work. In my next segment, I'll share more powerful, kitchen-friendly remedies to keep swelling at bay, plus deeper insights into how to tune into your body's needs before discomfort becomes disruption. Continuing from my aloe breakthrough, I realized I needed to build on that momentum. I couldn't rely solely on one trick. My body deserved a comprehensive approach. That's when I turned my attention to broccoli, of all things. One crisp Saturday morning in Denver, I met my friend Sarah at the local farmer's market by the Platte River. The air was fresh, dotted with the smell of roasted coffee and sweet pastries. But my focus was on that sea of vibrant green florets laid out in neat wooden crates. Sarah nudged me with a grin. "You still on that aloe kick?" she asked, handing me a steaming mug of chai. I laughed and nodded. "But I want more. I need variety." She guided me to a vendor who swore by the healing power of cruciferous veggies. "Broccoli is like nature's multi-tool," she said. I was skeptical until the vendor launched into a mini lecture. "It's packed with vitamin C for collagen production, high in fiber for gut health, and loaded with sulforaphane, which turns off inflammatory pathways at the molecular level." Every word felt like a secret code unlocked. That afternoon, I returned to my loft kitchen, the light filtering through big windows overlooking Cherry Creek. I ripped apart a head of broccoli, separating the florets from the stalks. I tossed them in olive oil and garlic, roasted them at 425 Fahrenheit, about 220 degrees Celsius, until the tips blistered and caramelized. The fragrant aroma filled my apartment, and as I took that first bite, something clicked. It wasn't just tasty, it felt like fuel for my cells. Over the next few mornings, I added broccoli to my rotation, steamed, blitzed into smoothies, or lightly sautéed with a dash of sea salt. I noticed subtle shifts, my energy stabilized, and those midday slumps became a thing of the past. My skin looked fresher, and best of all, I felt a steady decrease in that nagging ankle puffiness that used to flare up after long walks. One evening, after a long day at the ad agency downtown, I almost collapsed on my doorstep. My legs felt like lead, and my ankles pulsed with discomfort. It was then that my neighbor, Mike, an avid gardener, offered me a handful of homegrown broccoli sprouts. He said, "Try these raw before dinner." Desperate, I popped a few into my mouth. Within an hour, the dull ache softened. I realized the importance of community and shared wisdom in your wellness journey. But here's the dramatic twist. 2 weeks in, I decided to sign up for a weekend 5 Kelvin fundraiser along the Cherry Creek Trail. I wanted to test my progress. The race day dawned cool and clear. I laced up my neon green sneakers, feeling more confident than I had in months. My ankles felt strong, my lungs felt clear. When I crossed the finish line with Sarah cheering beside me, I felt unstoppable. All that inflammation, that invisible barrier, it felt like it had melted away. I share this not to brag, but to illustrate a point. Real change happens when you pair targeted nutrition with deliberate action. Broccoli alone isn't magic, but as part of a deliberate plan, it becomes transformative. Life lesson: don't settle for quick fixes. Layer your defense. When you add nutrient-dense foods like broccoli to your daily routine, alongside other smart choices, you're not just treating symptoms, you're investing in your body's long-term resilience. Hi there, it's Alex again. If you've been following my journey, you know I kicked off with aloe vera's soothing relief, then tapped into broccoli's deep cellular power. But here's the thing. Sometimes inflammation hides in the unexpected corners of our diet, and you need a colorful arsenal to truly push it back. That's where berries come, in tiny, tasty warriors packed with vitamin C, quercetin, and anthocyanins that jumpstart your collagen production and calm those rogue inflammatory signals. Last spring in Santa Monica, I found myself wandering the Saturday farmers market, the ocean breeze carrying the scent of citrus and fresh bread. I was browsing the produce stands when I stumbled on a bin of plump, jewel-toned berries, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, even tart blackberries. They looked almost too good to eat. A vendor named Maria smiled and said, "These are picked at peak ripeness. A single cup of mixed berries delivers over 100% of your daily vitamin C, plus a cocktail of antioxidants." It struck me. If I could harness the concentrated power of berries each morning, I could bolster my body's natural defenses. That very afternoon, I blended a cup of mixed berries with a scoop of plain yogurt, a dash of cinnamon, and a tablespoon of ground flaxseed, because fiber helps flush toxins and sugar out of your system. The smoothie was bright pink, tangy, and surprisingly filling. Within days, I noticed my joints felt more fluid during my evening yoga sessions, and that stubborn puffiness around my wrists gone. My skin even took on a subtle glow, as if I'd discovered an inside-out spa treatment. But the real test came on Memorial Day weekend. My partner, Jenna, invited me to a beach volleyball game in Pacific Beach. It was hot, competitive, and a great workout. Normally, after 2 hours of dives and jumps, I'd feel sore for a day or two. That time, I downed my berry smoothie before heading out, and then refilled my hydration bottle with water infused with muddled berries and mint. When the final spike hit the sand, I felt almost no residual ache, just that satisfying muscle knowing I'd given it a solid challenge. Here's the high-stakes twist. 2 days later, a sudden rainstorm blew in while I was on my bike commute. I didn't pack a jacket, classic rookie move. I ended up soaked, chilled to the bone, and convinced my body would rebel in the form of stiff joints and flu-like aches. But I stuck to my berry ritual breakfast smoothie, midday snack of a handful of frozen berries, and a cup of warm herbal tea with a few muddled berries stirred in. To my surprise, I woke up feeling fine, energized, clear-headed, and ready to tackle emails and calls. Life lesson. Inflammation doesn't follow a script. You need versatile, nutrient-rich tools at the ready. Berries pack a potent blend of antioxidants that go straight to work wherever your body needs repair. When you integrate them into every meal and snack, you build a resilient system that weathers both everyday stressors and unexpected challenges. Next up, I'm going to share how a kid-friendly treat, yes, gummy candy, can actually be repurposed as a collagen booster and inflammation fighter. It sounds too good to be true, but stick with me. This hack might just change how you snack forever. Hey, it's Alex again. And before we dive into this next trick, let me ask, have you ever thought that your favorite childhood gummy candy could actually help soothe adult aches? Sounds wild, right? But here's the hook. Many gummy supplements are now fortified with collagen peptides, that very protein your body uses to maintain joint integrity and skin elasticity. If you've ever popped a few gummies hoping for a sweet treat, what if I told you you could be knocking out inflammation at the same time? Picture this, a warm Saturday morning in Phoenix. I was on my way to meet my nephew Ethan at his t-ball game. He's 8, full of energy, and convinced that gummy bears are the ultimate post-game snack. As he laid out his backpack full of snacks, I noticed he'd stashed a pack of adult-targeted gummy vitamins labeled Collagen Boost. I laughed and grabbed the pack. "Hey champ, mind if I try one of those?" He grinned and handed me 2 cherry-flavored bites. Right there, in the dusty bleachers, I popped those gummies into my mouth. They were sweet, chewy, and surprisingly refreshing under the Arizona sun. But the real magic happened later that afternoon. My elbow's always a spot where I feel a dull ache when inflammation flares felt noticeably looser. The usual midday stiffness had eased off. I chalked it up to coincidence, but curiosity drove me to experiment further. Over the next week, I made it a ritual. 2 collagen gummies after breakfast, 2 after lunch. I chose flavors. I loved raspberry lemonade and watermelon, and I kept them next to my coffee mug as a visual cue. By day 5, I noticed that when I reached for the doorknob of my office building, my knuckles didn't protest with that familiar tightness. Opening jars in the kitchen felt smooth again. Even my nephew commented, "Uncle Alex, you've got better ninja moves today." He meant opening that stubborn salsa jar, but I'll take it. Now, gummies alone aren't a magic bullet. That's why I combined them with another delicious approach: collagen-infused drinks. Think of it as your morning latte, smoothie, or even iced tea, but supercharged with high-quality collagen powder. Here's what I do. Each morning, I brew a cup of black coffee, about 12 ounces. Let it cool slightly, then stir in 1 scoop of unflavored collagen peptides. Within seconds, it dissolves, no graininess, and I top it with a splash of unsweetened almond milk and a dash of cinnamon. It tastes like a slightly creamy spice latte, but here's the kicker. The 10 grams of collagen peptides are working behind the scenes to fortify your tendons, ligaments, and skin. One Tuesday, after a late-night brainstorming session at my home office, I woke up stiff from leaning over my laptop. My neck and shoulders felt like I'd slept on rocks. Instead of reaching for ibuprofen, I made my collagen coffee ritual. An hour later, I could tilt my head without wincing. That small win cemented the routine. And during a weekend paddleboarding session on Tempe Town Lake, I realized my wrists and calves stayed supple even after an hour of balancing and paddling. Life lesson. Sometimes the most playful, nostalgic foods like gummies can be repurposed into powerful health allies. By pairing collagen-rich candies with hydrating, collagen-infused drinks, you create a multi-pronged defense that supports your body from the inside out. It's not about deprivation or rigid regimes. It's about smart swaps that feel as effortless as reaching into a candy jar. In the next segment, I'll take you inside the kitchen with nutrient-packed organ meats. Yes, you heard that right, and show you why old-school foods are the secret to modern joint health. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Hey, it's Alex again. If you've stuck with me this far, you know I've shown you how aloe vera, broccoli, berries, and even gummy treats can help tame inflammation. But today, I want to take you into my grandmother's kitchen in New Orleans, where the real magic happens with an ingredient most people shy away from: organ meats. I still remember that humid summer evening when my cousin Marcus dragged me through the French Quarter to his favorite soul food spot. We slid into a creaky booth, and he ordered the chef's sampler: chicken livers, beef heart medallions, and a smothered pork kidney stew. At first, I hesitated. Who wants to eat their own organs, right? But the second those buttery chicken livers hit my tongue, I was hooked. They were tender, savory, and packed with a richness I'd never experienced in any steak or fillet. Later that night, after the jazz tunes faded and the street lamps glowed, I did my homework. Organ meats, especially liver, heart, and kidney, are nutritional powerhouses. They're loaded with vitamin A, B12, iron, and zinc, all critical for cell repair, oxygen transport, and immune support. But more importantly for our inflammation battle, they contain unique peptides that help rebuild joint cartilage and support healthy blood flow to muscles and connective tissue. I decided to take the plunge. Back home in Denver, I found a trusted butcher who sources grass-fed, pasture-raised animals. One Saturday, I walked down South Broadway with a paper bag of fresh chicken livers. That afternoon, I sautéed them gently in olive oil with shallots and thyme, just enough to keep them moist and flavorful. I served them over a bed of mixed greens with avocado slices and a squeeze of lemon. The first bite was transformative, earthy, hearty, and surprisingly light. Over the next week, I rotated organ meats into my meals. Beef heart slices grilled with garlic and rosemary felt like the meatiest steak you've ever had, but with fewer calories and more iron. I even experimented with a simple kidney hash: diced kidney cooked with sweet potatoes and bell peppers, topped with a poached egg. And here's what happened. My post-workout soreness eased, my recovery time shrank, and the old stiffness in my shoulders practically disappeared. But let me tell you about the real test. My friend Carla, a marathoner, invited me to her fall charity run through City Park. In years past, I would have finished the 10 Kelvin and wobbled home, my joints aching for days. This time, fueled by liver's potent mix of nutrients, I crossed the finish line feeling strong and limber. No limp, no morning after creaks. Just that exhilaration of accomplishment. Life lesson. Sometimes, the most powerful solutions come from the past. By embracing time-honored foods like organ meats, once the prized cuts of ancestors, you give your body a concentrated dose of what it truly needs to repair, regenerate, and resist inflammation. It's not about eating strange foods. It's about honoring the wisdom built into our heritage. Now, before we wrap up this segment, there's one more ocean-fresh hack I can't wait to share. Sardines. Tiny, oily fish that pack a massive punch of omega, 3-second, and calcium. Trust me, they're next-level inflammation fighters and bone whisperers. Hey, it's Alex here. If you've been with me from aloe vera to organ meats, you know I'm all about finding inflammation's hidden triggers and tackling them head-on with real food. Today, I want to take you to the docks of Seattle's Pike Place Market, where I discovered a tiny fish that packs a serious nutritional wallop: sardines. It all started on a drizzly Saturday morning. I'd boarded the ferry from Bainbridge Island, wrapped in my favorite North Face jacket, clutching a to-go cup of dark roast from the market's original Starbucks. As I wandered past the flower stalls and fishmongers tossing salmon fillets, I spotted a chalkboard sign that read, "Fresh wild sardines, rich in omega-3 and calcium." Normally, I'd pass up tiny fish. They seemed like bait, not dinner. But something about that sign whispered, "You've tried everything else, why not this?" I bought a half-pound tin of fresh sardines, packed in extra virgin olive oil. Back in my Capitol Hill apartment, I laid them out on a wooden cutting board alongside a halved lemon, minced garlic, and chopped parsley. I heated a cast-iron skillet, added a drizzle of the sardine oil for that smoky, savory aroma, then seared the fish for just 90 seconds per side, enough to crisp the skin while keeping the flesh silky. That first bite was a revelation. Briny, tender, with a hint of olive oil sweetness. But the real payoff showed up the next morning. I woke up, feeling unusually centered. No stiffness in my ankles, no dull ache in my knees. Even my lower back felt relaxed. I chalked it up to good sleep and breakfast, but by day 3, the pattern was undeniable. Sardines were working like a quiet ninja, slipping into my joints and whispering, "We've got your back." Here's the science. Sardines are one of the richest sources of long-chain omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA, which help block inflammatory messengers and support cell membrane health. They're loaded with calcium, about 325 mg per 3-ounce serving, and vitamin D, both crucial for bone strength and nerve function. Plus, they deliver high-quality protein in a form your body can use immediately to repair connective tissue. I decided to turn sardines into a ritual. Every Sunday evening, I'd bake a tray of seasoned sardines, olive oil, sea salt, lemon zest, and a sprinkle of smoked paprika at 400 Fahrenheit for 10 minutes. Then, I'd portion them into glass containers with slices of cucumber, cherry tomatoes, and a side of whole grain crackers. Come Monday morning, I grabbed a container, popped it open at my office desk in Fremont, and ate sardines straight from the dish while sipping cold brew coffee. Colleagues gave me curious looks, but that extra boost of protein and anti-inflammatory oils fueled my day. But the plot thickened when I combined sardines with another powerhouse: homemade pork bone broth. One Sunday, I forgot to thaw my usual chicken bones, and the local butcher only had pork neck bones left. Undeterred, I tossed them into a 6-quart stock pot with 2 carrots, a yellow onion, celery stalks, a splash of apple cider vinegar, and enough water to cover. I simmered it low and slow 12 hours, so the collagen, minerals, and amino acids leached into a golden broth. By Tuesday, I was sipping a cup of warm bone broth first thing, then following it with my sardine-packed lunch. The synergy was unbelievable. The broth's gelatin supported my gut lining and joint tissues, while the sardines' omega, 3-second, kept inflammation markers suppressed. I felt a lightness in my hips when I climbed the steep hill to my yoga class, and my wrists moved smoothly through sun salutations. Life lesson. Sometimes, the best solutions are the simplest pairings. Tiny, overlooked foods like sardines can be game changers when you pair them with foundational practices, like nourishing bone broths that restore your body from the inside out. Don't underestimate the power of humble ingredients and the rituals that make them part of your daily life. Hey, it's Alex here. You've seen how sardines and bone broth formed a dynamic duo to calm inflammation. But today, I want to share another backyard favorite that's deceptively simple yet remarkably powerful: skin on chicken. Yes, you heard me, those crispy, golden edges you love at the grill hold more than just flavor. They deliver essential fats and nutrients that help your body fight swelling and support healthy cell membranes. It all started one Sunday afternoon in Miami, where I'd been invited to my friend Marcus's annual poolside barbecue. The air was thick with laughter, steel drum music, and the scent of charcoal. I spotted Marcus expertly flipping chicken thighs on his big green egg smoker. The skin was blistered to a perfect mahogany, crackling with each turn. As I bit into a thigh, the skin yielded a satisfying crack, and the meat underneath was juicy and tender. I asked him what his secret was. He smiled and said, "We keep the skin on for the natural fats. It's where the magic lives." Intrigued, I did my research later that evening. The chicken skin is rich in monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats, including small amounts of omega-6 fatty acids, which when balanced correctly play an anti-inflammatory role by supporting cell signaling pathways. Plus, that crispy fat layer helps you absorb fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K, which are crucial for immune function and tissue repair. Determined to integrate this into my routine, I developed a simple weekly ritual. Every Saturday morning, I'd head to the local farmer's market in Coconut Grove and pick up pasture-raised, skin-on chicken thighs. Back home, I'd prepare a marinade: 2 tablespoons of olive oil, the zest and juice of 1 lime, a teaspoon of smoked paprika, half a teaspoon of ground turmeric, a clove of minced garlic, and a pinch of sea salt. I let the thighs rest in this mixture for at least 30 minutes, then grilled them skin side down over medium heat until the skin crisped and the juices ran clear. That ritual paid off sooner than I expected. One Wednesday morning, after a late-night studio session recording a podcast, I stiffened up in bed, my lower back aching from leaning over the mic. I could have reached for painkillers, but instead I made my famous chicken skin on breakfast burrito: shredded chicken thigh, avocado slices, scrambled egg, and a sprinkle of cilantro wrapped in a whole grain tortilla. As I sipped my coffee and savored the crunch of the skin bits, I noticed my spine loosened and the ache subsided within the hour. But the real test came later that week, during an impromptu pickup basketball game at the local rec center. My ankles, which often felt puffy after quick changes of direction, felt light and responsive. I was zigzagging across the court, making plays without the usual twinges. By the time I'd made 3 three-pointers, I realized I hadn't even noticed how my body felt. That's when you know a nutrition hack is working. Life lesson: don't overlook the parts of food you think of as guilty pleasures. Skin on chicken isn't just delicious. It's a vessel for healthy fats and fat-soluble nutrients that support your body's healing and resilience. When you incorporate these simple, flavorful rituals into your weekly rhythm, like weekend market trips and a straightforward lime turmeric marinade, you transform everyday meals into powerful tools against inflammation. That wraps up our dive into skin on chicken. Next up, I'm taking you back to the kitchen for one final powerhouse: beef bone broth. We'll explore why it's the grand finale of our inflammation-fighting toolkit, and how to customize it with your favorite herbs and spices. Hey, it's Alex here. We've covered everything from aloe vera to skin on chicken, and now I'm bringing you into my Chicago kitchen for the grand finale of our inflammation-fighting toolkit: beef bone broth. This is the elixir that ties together everything we've learned: collagen for joint repair, minerals for muscle function, and warmth for soothing aches. It all began last winter when the Chicago winds felt colder than usual. I was battling a stubborn shoulder ache that flared every time I reached overhead to stow a box in the attic. One evening, my neighbor Carlos knocked on my door clutching 2 insulated mugs. "Try this," he said, handing me a steaming cup of bone broth he'd simmered all day. I raised an eyebrow. Broth didn't exactly scream pain relief, But I trusted Carlos's health hacks. I took that first sip and felt the warmth spread from my chest through my arms. It wasn't spicy or heavy, just deep, savory comfort. He told me he used grass-fed beef knuckles and marrow bones, roasted at 450 Fahrenheit for 30 minutes, then simmered with 1 roughly chopped onion, 2 carrots, 2 celery stalks, a few garlic cloves, a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, and about 12 cups of water. He let it bubble low and slow for 18 hours, skimming the surface occasionally. By the next morning, the broth was thick and gelatinous in the fridge, a sign it was rich in collagen and amino acids. Intrigued, I replicated his recipe in my own cast-iron Dutch oven. First, I preheated the oven, roasted 6 pounds of beef leg bones until they were golden at the edges, then transferred them to the pot. I added my veggies, 2 bay leaves, a sprig of fresh thyme, a teaspoon of black peppercorns, and enough spring water to cover by an inch. I set it on low heat and let it steep overnight while I slept. The real magic happened during my Monday morning workout. Instead of coffee, I sipped 8 ounces of the warm broth before hitting the treadmill. My muscles felt primed. My joints glided smoothly through each stride, and that nagging shoulder stiffness barely registered. Later, when I reached overhead to adjust the gym stereo speaker, there was no sharp twinge, just a quiet confidence that my body was finally responding to good nutrition. Over the next week, I made beef bone broth a daily ritual. I kept jars in the fridge and microwaved a mug each morning, then refilled my water bottle with a cold orange-flavored electrolyte mix and a splash of broth for lunch. By day 5, I noticed even my skin seemed plumper around my knuckles, and those fine lines on my forehead looked softer proof that collagen doesn't just benefit joints but also skin elasticity. Here's why beef bone broth deserves its spot at the end of our series. Collagen and gelatin. When you see that jiggly layer after refrigeration, you know you've got a potent dose of collagen peptides, which rebuild cartilage and strengthen connective tissue. Minerals and electrolytes. Calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, and potassium leach from the bones into the broth, supporting muscle contractions and nerve signaling key for reducing cramps and soreness. Amino acids. Glycine and proline are found in high concentrations, which help modulate inflammation and support detox pathways. Life lesson. The most profound healing often comes from patience and process. Slow simmering beef bone broth isn't a quick fix. It's a daily practice that layers nourishing components into your body over time. By combining this ritual with everything we've discussed, aloe vera's cooling relief, broccoli's cellular support, berry antioxidants, collagen gummies and drinks, organ meats, sardines, and skin-on chicken, you create a comprehensive defense system that tackles inflammation from every angle. Hey, it's Alex here for the final chapter of our inflammation-fighting journey. Looking back, we've traveled from the soothing gel of aloe vera, through the vibrant power of broccoli and berries, up to the nostalgic sweetness of collagen gummies and the ancestral strength of organ meats. We scaled the seaside docks of Seattle with sardines, savored Miami-style skin-on chicken, and slow-simmered Chicago's quintessential beef bone broth. Each of these elements stands alone, but together they form a potent, multi-layered defense against everyday aches and long-term wear. Imagine waking up each morning, knowing exactly how you'll support your joints, skin, and overall vitality. You start with a warm cup of bone broth, its gentle heat easing you into the day while delivering a potent dose of collagen to prime your connective tissues. By breakfast, you blend a handful of mixed berries into your favorite smoothie or savor 2 collagen gummies that double as a playful reminder to nourish yourself. When lunchtime rolls around, you enjoy a serving of protein, whether it's skin-on chicken, marinated in lime and turmeric, or a rich organ meat sauté, paired with a side of roasted broccoli to flood your cells with vitamin C and sulforaphane. As the afternoon slump threatens stiffness in your elbows and shoulders, you recharge with a simple aloe vera elixir, sipping a blend of fresh gel, lemon, and water before reaching for a tin of sardines alongside whole grain crackers. The omega-3 second, calcium, and vitamin D unite to calm inflammation and fortify your bones in one effortless snack. As evening falls, you honor tradition and self-care by cooking a light stew or sipping another cup of bone broth to promote overnight repair and recovery. This isn't about perfect routines or strict diets. It's about crafting joyful, sustainable rituals that turn every meal into an opportunity to fortify your body and calm inflammation at its source. Life lesson. True resilience emerges when you build simple, consistent habits that respect your body's wisdom. Each food and practice we've explored offers unique benefits, but the real magic happens when you integrate them into a unified, holistic approach. Consistency, not perfection, is your greatest ally. If you found value in this series, I'd love for you to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss my upcoming deep dives into sleep optimization, stress management, and mobility hacks tailored for midlife vitality. Share your favorite recipe or your own inflammation warrior in the comments below. Did broccoli's caramelized crunch win you over? Or did sardines surprise you with their savory punch? And if you're curious about another food or practice, let me know. I'm always hunting for the next wellness gem. Thank you for spending this time with me and for trusting me to guide your health journey. Remember, inflammation is not your destiny, but a signal to listen, adapt, and take action with intention. Stay curious, stay proactive, and I'll see you in the next chapter.